Top 10 lists, baby. Today they're back on the channel because clearly you guys still want to see them. Of course, I am only gonna do them when I do have 10 possible entries for a list, and today I certainly do. Because it's the second part to my bad songs by great rappers list. As always, what this title really means is 10 rap songs that I personally don't like from 10 rappers that I personally do like overall, so let's get started, shall we?
Every time I drop, apply that pressure, I ain't letting up. I heard Derp take nothing spaz and I'm like, bet it up.
I like Polo G's The GOAT album overall, but it does start to get a bit weaker towards the end of it for the most part. And Chinatown is, to me, the weakest track on it. With pretty much every other song on the album, Polo's voice sounds super clear, but then all of a sudden on this one, you get this really unpolished sound and a beat that sounds dusty. Not like each element of the beat is poorly composed, but the actual sound of it gives off
32
kilobits per second MP3 vibes. It's like a low quality mix of a decent Polo G song. But at least we didn't get Piano G, right guys? Give me your likes. It's kind of confusing, honestly. Every other song, the mix is fine, but for this one, it's just really poor. And there's nothing else really in the song to make it stand out. For me, that makes it an instant skip.
I've been through this shit over and over.
You know, I saw an interesting theory on Reddit recently from the user Based Caleb that Roddy overused and damaged his vocal cords while he was blowing up, and that's why his melodies sound less smooth and worse now. And I've never really thought about that before, but honestly it makes sense with how his recent stuff has been sounding. And Everything You Need from his last album is a great example of this. It has all the core elements of a Roddy Ricch smash hit, having a soulful, slow instrumental with some bounce in the drums. And in the first 20 or so seconds, I thought it would be leading into a super catchy, high fashion style song. But then Roddy starts with the chorus, and man, the vocal strength just isn't there. For example, compare the hook of High Fashion and this one together, and the difference is noticeable.
Wanna make you fall in love. First thing we need is trust. Whoa, you ain't gotta deal with none of these niggas no more.
Something about the whole track just feels like a really lackluster version of what should have been a hit song.
Wait, chop it up off the plate.
Did you know that Uzi has R&B singers and R&B hoes? If not, you clearly haven't fucking listened to this song. Love Is Rage 2 is a really fun album. I enjoy listening to it a lot now. As you might have noticed, over the years Uzi has transitioned from being on my great songs by bad rappers list to my bad songs by great rappers list. And Early 20 Rager might have its own vibe compared to every other song on the album, but rolling straight from Neon Guts into Unfazed is how pretty much every listening session of this album goes for me. It's the longest one on the album at 4.5 minutes long, and that means if you don't really fuck with the vibe of the song, odds are that you really don't like it. And it's funny because there are parts of this one that I do kind of like, such as the fact that the sort of melodic, upbeat production that you would expect to hear Uzi over is present on this one in the background of the beat, but it's kind of hard to hear it over Uzi cranking the reverb on his vocals up to the max. I'm really not a fan of the hook on this one either, and a lot of the flows during the verses just don't do anything for me. Basically everything I listen to Uzi's music for misses on this song. To a degree, I kind of respect the fact that it's fairly experimental for an album like this, but the end result is brain melting and in a bad way.
Follow me, rumble, follow me, roll up, follow me.
Guidance is the worst song on Birds. You disagree with me? Argue with your mother about it. The last thing Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight needed was a bad dancehall track where Travis comes through on sleepo mode. By the time it gets to the second verse, I feel like he's clock watching in the studio and just trying to finish up as soon as he can and get out of there. Are you finished? Are you done? Was that take sounded like I don't give a fuck? Good. Alright, I'll see you guys tomorrow. The sample on the beat is pretty annoying with how often it pops in and out of it, and honestly, with Travis's voice, I just don't feel like his autotune works well with this type of production. It feels pretty out of place on this album. Might also be worth pointing out, this song is really just a remix of the song Guidance by K Forest, so hopefully he got a bag for this one.
Open your mouth wide. Choked you hard cause you my bitch. You the best thing that ever happened.
Westside Gunn. This man can have the most soulful, beautiful sounding production in the world with a really nice chorus on it, and then come through with stuff like leg drop the pussy like I'm Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik a camel clutcher when we fucking, every time she makes me nut buy a Chanel bag. It must have been intentional for Gunn's verse on here to be the polar opposite of Armani Caesar's tender and vulnerable hook about valuing loyalty over material possessions. But it makes it come across as parody levels of funny. When she's saying, it was never about the money or the cars or taking trips, I just wanted your loyalty. Then Westside Gunn says, licking on her pussy, I'm about to buy the Goyard store. For every time you squirt, take 1,000. It's comedy gold. The transition from her chorus into Westside's verse and then his verse back into her chorus, it's something.
Baby, do it with loyalty.
Come here, bitch. Come here, bitch. I'm about to nut in you. About to nut in you. I can't get about you.
Armani Caesar does the best she can with the first half of the song, but Westside Gunn just went against the vibe that she set up for it in every single way. R.I.P. to the Alchemist produced beat too, it deserved better. Who Made the Sunshine is a really good album, but this is a noticeable weak track from it. At least it's weak in a funny way though. Pierre Bourne and Young Thug. They can be a very hit or miss combo for me. Surf is cool as fuck and makes me feel happy. Light It Up is just obnoxious and not very fun. Lil Baby is a decent little low-key track. I'm Scared is horrendous. But I've talked about all those songs already in my reaction to So Much Fun. Just now, I'm gonna talk about the single Pierre Bourne produced track from the So Much Fun Deluxe that I've never mentioned before, and that is Diamonds. The main thing that gets me about this one is that it isn't particularly fun despite the album name. Hop Off a Jet would have been a much better deluxe album opener. This one has a pretty dull beat that drags on the more that it goes on, with Young Thug rhythmically ad-libbing the word diamonds over it repeatedly. The way he raps over this one doesn't do anything for me, and Gunna isn't exactly the one to inject energy into a song when it's already lacking. Okay, just for old time's sake. Hey, did you know this track features Gunna? Alright, on to the next one.
Double back when you got it made, 30 racks of weed, no fat in the collard greens.
I'm sorry, I had to do this one. This is the definition of Scare the Hoes music. Me and my girlfriend had this as our morning alarm for about a week, and I'm not gonna lie, it made for a really surreal morning every single time. I didn't want to get out of bed when I heard it. It's crazy too, because Earl is rapping some heartfelt bars on this song, and he covers a pretty insane amount of ground with his content over the 2 minutes that the track runs for. But the majority of people don't focus on it because the beat for this song sounds like it was produced for an imaginary circus that only ever happens in your nightmares. There's no drums, a very loose structure, and off-kilter flow. It's a very different type of track, but it's not good different for me. Where are my hi-hats and 808s? Can Metro Boomin make this one boom? I mean, this one I respect in a way because I kind of feel like only Earl could make this song, and lyrically it is impressive. But it's also a cursed listen and too unconventional for a mainstream but with the most surface level experimental hip-hop music taste having fellow like myself. So overall, I definitely dislike it.
My tongue is a ooze, my dick is a AK, my tongue go brrrr, my dick go pop.
I Am Not a Human Being 2 contains some of Lil Wayne's biggest misses and worst lyrics yet. Wowzers, is no exception. In fact, it's a great example of this. Suck this dick and swallow this nut and call it penis colada. Give her head like a brim, it tastes good, MMM. Like he individually pronounces the 3 M's and Got a sweet tooth, candy yam pussy. I give her wood when he wouldn't. Which in the genius transcription of the song is just followed by a question mark. Like, not even the people that wrote down the lyrics for this track knew what the hell Wayne was on. The hook for this song is my tongue is an Uzi, my dick is an AK, my tongue go brrrr, my dick go bah. Hilarious, but terrible. Trina's verse is a bit better for me, but she still decided to match up to Lil Wayne's terrible bars at some points, with lines like, if that dick like a tree, let me build a tree house. Which, I'm not even sure what that metaphor is going for, what that would look like. I haven't even mentioned the instrumental yet. Why does that beat sound so clunky and cheap?
Soulja Boy on the beat.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Until he follows me again on Twitter at CDTVProductions, you guys should do it too. Soulja Boy is my #1 enemy.
I've got plans to hug and kiss ya. I've got plans to hug you.
Now I like happy, upbeat songs. I love happy, upbeat songs. But this is like the background music for a Lifetime channel ad. The soundtrack for something that looks way too artificially clean and perfect, you know? Outside of the over-the-top spotlessness of the track, the hook is my main issue with this one. The pitch that Chance goes up to with his vocals makes a pretty sharp sound.
Let's go on the ride. Let's go on the ride.
We all already know that The Big Day is generally considered to be a huge weak point in Chance's discography, so this pick for this list is not surprising in any way at all, but I am also including it here to show that I still think Chance is a good rapper, despite that album. Because after The Big Day came out, people were talking about Chance all of a sudden like he's the worst rapper to ever pick up a microphone, when, in my opinion, it's just one misstep in a discography that otherwise has 3 amazing and unique mixtapes. Some of his recent singles have been moving in a much better direction, so I have hope for his next album.
I don't need to sign a release, I'm a freedom man. This is the video game, this is simulation, man.
On one of the YouTube uploads of this song, the top comment is, this song is what people who don't like Yeezus think Yeezus sounds. Fucking nailed it. It is like if you take everything about the songs on that album and do it badly. First off, that flute throughout the song, bro. What is going on with that? It's got some East energy going on. The lyrical content is like if you take the anti-establishment themes of Yeezus and make them a lot more scrambled and directionless. His voice throughout the whole song sounds like he needs a good sip of Lemsip, especially during the second verse. Everything about it feels poorly slapped together, honestly. Poorly. Thankfully, it wasn't a sign of the direction the Donda album would be going in, but my god, this one was a huge miss for me. And hey, maybe Kanye doesn't like the song or something about it anymore because it's not on streaming services now, which I'm okay with. But please get the remix back on streaming services because that one has amazing feature verses. Speaking of that remix actually, now is the perfect time to say that you can click right here to check out a video where I talk about that song more in depth, along with a handful of other remixes. Shout out to the Patreon army for their support, and a special shout out to my biggest supporters on there, and those are Big Daddy Foe, Diego Victoriano, Griffin Upchurch, I Am Region, and Ryan Shadow 507.